Welcome back to the Front Mission First Remake OP walkthrough, and I finally figured out how to skill Bobby and Porunga, and these guys, they're not so good. So I had to repurpose Bobby, since all he can really learn that's worth it is switch and guide, so effectively you make him short range and long range, and you turn him into a missileer and bazooka guy. And then you go over to Porunga. Porunga's not that great either. Porunga can't even learn guide, so save yourself time and frustration and just level up his melee to 48, max it out in the arena, and give him stun and double. That's really all you can do for him. And as for Molly, just in case you didn't see a previous video, same thing, give her stun and double, max out her melee, and that's really all you can do for these clowns, okay? These clowns, they're like the three stooges of Front Mission First, okay? Curly, Larry, and Mo. They are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, these are probably the worst pilots in the game. I think there's one that's equally as bad. That's like the last one you get. I think it's called Gents. I think he's called Gents. But anyway, that should sum it up real quick. And I'm going to go over their actual setups real quick here, so you guys can understand how you're supposed to set these clowns up. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick like the max armor. Essentially you're going to go with the Varsa set for the actual body, and then you're going to go with the Varsa arms for both the left arm and the right arm. Legs, you're going to choose the Zacate, since that's the best one the shop actually has. As you can see, I already have that equipped. And then essentially the CPU, you just give them the highest rated melee and dodge CPU if they're a melee character. Then you throw a couple shields on them, like I have. Throw the Servus backpack on them. And then you go to weapons, just give them each an F4 hand rod. And you got that same exact setup for Molly as you should for Porunga. That's all you can do for these guys. And as for Bobby, well, I set him up similar to the way I had Hans and Paul kitted out right here, as you can see. You see, you got to think of Bobby as like, he's a short and long range ace, but as you can see looking at Bobby's skills, he only has switch and guide, as opposed to, Hans has guide, dual, and switch, and Paul has dual, switch, and guide. Same exact skills you should have for like an explosive long range application. But Bobby, set him up a similar way. Gave him the Zacate torso to max out the power. I gave him the Varsa arms on the left and right, as you can see. And then I just stuck a shield on his left arm, the WS-14. And on his right shoulder, I just gave him the PIZ-8 missile launcher. And as you can see, it's the WS-14 shield on the left arm, as I had specified. And his legs, yeah, running the Zacate legs too. So the Zacate torso, the Zacate legs, and then the Varsa left and right arms, that's what we're running. And then of course you've got the Boa 36 bazooka in both actual hands there. And that's basically how you kit him out. You just make him a long-range bazooka and missileer. He's not going to be as good as, Paul, or for that matter, Hans, but he's still going to be able to do some damage. He's still going to be able to do kind of well, but he's not as good as Hans or Paul at long range. Even though his skill rating, even though the skill rating for Bobby is still an A, he's not going to stack up to Paul or Hans. So that'll wrap it up for this short skill video, and showing you how to kit out those three clowns, the three stooges, as I have said, Curly, Larry, and Mo. And these guys are ridiculous. I think the next two pilots we're supposed to get later in the game are better, and I think they're more along the tier of Alder, which is good because, Alder does a good job. So, as to which ones they are, I don't know off the top of my head. You're just going to have to stay tuned for the video and click on the notifications and, like, subscribe, do whatever else you got to do.